Hi, my name is Maya Lee, and I never told my boyfriend that I make $85,000 a month. Yes, you heard that right. $85,000. Every single month. But my boyfriend Derek? He had no idea. To him, I was just Maya, the sweet, simple girl who shopped at thrift stores, took the bus, and made dinner at home instead of going to fancy restaurants. He'd look at me with this mixture of affection and pity, like I was struggling to make ends meet, and honestly, I let him believe it. Because here's what I've learned about money. It reveals people's true colors faster than anything else in this world. And I needed to see Derek's true colors before I made any serious decisions about our future. I'm a cybersecurity consultant. I specialize in AI security systems for Fortune 500 companies. I work from my modest apartment in sweatpants and oversized hoodies, protecting billion-dollar corporations from hackers, and they pay me obscene amounts of money to do it. But I learned a long time ago never to lead with that information. Not on dating apps, not on first dates, not until I knew someone's true character. Derek and I had been dating for 9 months when he invited me to have dinner with his parents. 9 months of him insisting on paying for everything, giving me these patronizing little smiles when I'd offer to split the bill. "Don't worry about it, babe," he'd say, squeezing my hand. "I've got you covered." Here's the thing, I actually really liked Derek. He was intelligent, charming, and we could talk for hours about everything from philosophy to terrible reality TV shows. He was finishing his MBA and had dreams of taking over his father's investment firm someday. But there were these little moments, these tiny comments that made me pause. Like when I showed him a vintage jacket I'd found at Goodwill for $12 and he said, "That's amazing that you can make thrift store clothes look so good. Not everyone has that talent." Or when I mentioned I was being careful with my budget and he said, "That's so smart." Financial responsibility is really attractive, especially for someone in your position. My position. Like he had any clue what my position actually was. But I smiled. I played along. Because I had a theory I needed to test. And his parents' dinner was going to be the perfect opportunity. The invitation came on a Wednesday evening. We were in my small apartment, eating the homemade Thai curry I'd cooked, when Derek brought it up. "So," he said, suddenly looking nervous, "my parents really want to meet you. They've been asking about you for weeks now." "I'd love to meet them," I said warmly. "Great. How about this Saturday?" He paused, then added carefully, "Just a heads up, my parents can be a bit intense. They might ask you some personal questions. About your career, your background, that kind of stuff. Don't take it personally, okay? They're just protective of me. Don't take it personally." I gave him my sweetest smile. "Of course. I completely understand." What Derek didn't know was that I'd already done my homework. His father, Robert Whitmore, ran a private equity firm worth hundreds of millions. His mother, Victoria, came from old money, the kind of family that had buildings at Ivy League universities named after them. They lived in Belmont Hills, where the modest home started at $5 million. I knew exactly what kind of evening this was going to be. Saturday arrived, and I dressed with careful precision. A simple navy dress from Target, minimal jewelry, my hair in a neat ponytail. I looked exactly like what they'd expect. A nice girl who was trying her best, but clearly out of her depth. Derek picked me up in his Porsche, a gift for his 25th birthday, he'd casually mentioned once, and we drove through increasingly wealthy neighborhoods until we reached his parents' estate. And I do mean estate. The property had actual gates. A circular driveway with a fountain. The house itself looked like something from a European castle, all stone and ivy and towering windows. "You okay?" Derek asked as we pulled up. "You look nervous." "Just want to make a good impression," I said. Which was true. Just not in the way he thought. Victoria Whitmore answered the door herself, though I'm sure they had staff who could have done it. She was immaculate, blonde hair in a perfect chignon, wearing a cream designer outfit that I recognized from a recent Vogue spread. Her smile was warm, but her eyes were calculating. "Maya," she said, her voice like honey over ice. "How wonderful to finally meet you. Derek has told us so much. Please come in." The interior was exactly what I expected. Marble floors, museum-quality art, furniture that cost more than most people's cars. We walked through a hallway lined with family photos. Derek at Harvard, Derek at various charity galas, Derek shaking hands with senators and CEOs. The dining room was set for formal dinner. Crystal glasses, china with gold trim. More forks than any human should need for one meal. Derek's father stood when we entered. Robert Whitmore was tall and imposing, with silver hair and the kind of presence that comes from a lifetime of boardroom dominance. "Maya," he said, his handshake firm and measuring. "Welcome to our home." The first 15 minutes were standard interrogation disguised as polite conversation. They asked about my family, suburban, middle class, my education, state university, full scholarship, my apartment, small, affordable neighborhood. Victoria smiled at each answer, but I could see her mentally filing everything away. Then Robert cut to the chase. "Derek mentioned you work in technology," he said, cutting into what was probably a $200 steak. "What exactly do you do?" "I'm a software engineer," I said modestly. "I do freelance work, mostly cybersecurity consulting." "Freelance," Victoria repeated, and I caught the subtle glance she exchanged with Robert. "How entrepreneurial. That must be quite unpredictable income-wise." "Some months are better than others," I said, which was technically true. Some months I made $85,000, and some months I made $120,000. Derek squeezed my hand under the table, trying to be supportive. "And you work from home?" Robert asked. "Yes, sir. It's more efficient that way." Another look between the parents. I could practically hear their thoughts. No office, no stability, no real career. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Victoria dabbed her mouth with her napkin and leaned forward slightly. "Maya, dear, you seem like such a sweet girl. And Derek clearly cares for you very much." Here it comes, I thought. We've always taught Derek the importance of partnership, of being with someone who matches his ambition and his lifestyle. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Relationships can be complicated when there's too much of a disparity. "Mother," Derek said, his voice tight with embarrassment. No, let me finish," Victoria continued. "We just want Derek to be happy. And we want to make sure that anyone in his life is there for the right reasons." Robert cleared his throat. "What my wife is trying to say, Maya, is that Derek will someday inherit a considerable fortune. We need to know that people in his life aren't, taking advantage." Victoria finished smoothly. The room went silent. Derek looked mortified. I kept my expression neutral, sweet, maybe a little hurt. "I would never." I started, making my voice small. "Of course not," Victoria said quickly. "We're not suggesting you would. We just needed to be clear about expectations." Then Robert did something I hadn't expected. He slid an envelope across the table toward me. A thick, cream-colored envelope. "Inside this envelope," Robert said carefully, "is a check for $50,000. My heart started pounding. Not from nervousness, from pure, electric anticipation. "We'd like you to take it," Victoria added, her voice gentle. "Consider it a thank you for the time you've spent with Derek. He's had a lovely 9 months with you, but we think it's best if this relationship ends here, before anyone gets too attached or hurt." Derek shot to his feet. "Are you kidding me right now? You're trying to pay off my girlfriend?" "Derek, sit down," Robert commanded. "This is a business conversation. She's not a business transaction. Everything is a business transaction, son. The sooner you learn that, the better." I stared at the envelope. This perfect, horrible envelope that confirmed everything I'd suspected about these people. Victoria turned her attention back to me, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Maya, dear, you seem like a smart girl. $50,000 could change your life. It could pay off debt, help your family, give you a fresh start. Derek will move on. Young men always do. Why not make this easier for everyone?" I looked at Derek, who was staring at his parents like he'd never seen them before. Then I looked at the envelope. Slowly, I reached for it. Derek's face fell. Victoria's smile widened triumphantly. I picked up the envelope, feeling its weight. Then I did something that clearly wasn't in their script. I laughed. Not a bitter laugh or a nervous laugh. A genuine, amused laugh. "I'm sorry," I said, still chuckling. This is amazing. This is actually happening." Victoria's smile faltered. "I'm not sure what's funny about this situation." "Oh, everything," I said, standing up. "Absolutely everything." I opened the envelope. Sure enough, there was a check for $50,000, made out to me, signed by Robert Whitmore. I pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" Robert asked sharply. "Just 1 second," I said, taking a crystal-clear photo of the check. "Want to make sure I document this properly." Then I tore the check in half. Then in half again. And again. Victoria gasped. "What are you?" "Let me tell you something," I said, my voice calm but electric. "My name is Maya Lee. I'm 28 years old. I specialize in AI security systems and penetration testing for Fortune 500 companies. My current clients include 3 of the top 10 tech companies in the world." I dropped the torn check pieces on the table. "I make approximately $85,000 per month. That's a bit over $1 million per year, give or take, depending on the contract bonuses." The room went completely silent. "In the past 9 months, while you thought I was some struggling girl who needed your son's financial support, I've earned roughly $765,000. I own my apartment outright. I paid cash. I drive a modest car because I don't care about impressing people. I shop at thrift stores because I enjoy the hunt, not because I have to." Victoria had gone pale. Robert's face was frozen. "I have a net worth of approximately $3.2 million. At 28. Self-made. No inheritance, no trust fund, just skills and hard work." I turned to Derek, who was staring at me with his mouth open. "I never told you because I wanted to see who you really were. And for 9 months you were kind, supportive, and genuine. I was actually falling in love with you." My voice softened. "But then I met your parents, and I wanted to see if you'd stand up for me. If you'd defend someone you thought was beneath your social class." I looked back at Robert and Victoria. "Your son actually passed that test. He defended me. He was horrified by your behavior. You should be proud of that, except you're too busy being classist, elitist, and frankly, morally bankrupt." I picked up my purse. "That check you offered me? $50,000? I make that in about 17 days. Your attempt to buy me off was worth about half a month of my salary." I walked toward the door, then paused. "Oh, and one more thing. Robert, your firm uses a cybersecurity contractor called SecureNet Solutions, right?" His eyes widened slightly. "I consulted for them last year. I wrote the security protocols that protect your client data. You know that breach you almost had 6 months ago? The one that would have exposed all your clients' financial information? I'm the one who caught it and shut it down in under 4 minutes." I smiled. "You actually already paid me once. $150,000 for that job alone. I guess this dinner was kind of redundant." Victoria looked like she might faint. "Derek," I said gently, "I'll call you an Uber and wait outside. Take your time with your parents. You have some things to discuss." I walked out of that mansion with my head high, leaving behind 3 very stunned people and a pile of torn-up check pieces on their expensive china. Derek came out 20 minutes later, looking shell-shocked. "I am so sorry," he said immediately. "I had no idea they would." "I know you didn't. Everything you said in there, it's all true? Every word." He ran his hands through his hair. "Why didn't you tell me? Would you have treated me the same way if you'd known from the start?" He opened his mouth to say yes, then stopped. "Really thought about it." "I don't know," he admitted. "And that's really messed up, isn't it?" "It's honest," I said. "Which is more than most people would be." We stood there in the driveway, next to that ridiculous fountain, while the Uber pulled up. "I just told my parents that they were bigoted, classist, and that I was ashamed of them," Derek said. "My father actually apologized. I've never seen him apologize for anything in my entire life." "Good," I said. "And my mother cried. Real tears." "Also good." He looked at me, really looked at me, maybe for the first time seeing past the Target dresses and thrift store jackets. Can we start over? He asked. Like, actually start over? No assumptions, no secrets, just honest. I thought about it. About the past 9 months. About the man who defended me when he thought I was powerless. About the growth I'd just witnessed. Maybe, I said. But you're buying dinner next time. And I mean real dinner. Somewhere expensive. Because I'm done pretending to be okay with diners and food courts. He laughed, the tension breaking. Deal. Although now I'm terrified you'll judge all my suggestions as not expensive enough. Good, I said, smiling. A little terror is healthy in a relationship. The Uber driver was getting impatient, so I gave Derek a quick kiss. Call me tomorrow, I said, when you've processed all this. Maya, he called as I opened the car door. That thing you said in there about falling in love with me? I paused. Was that part of the performance, or? I smiled. Call me tomorrow and find out. As the Uber pulled away, I looked back at the mansion. Through the dining room window, I could see Derek's parents still sitting at that table, probably trying to process what had just happened. My phone buzzed. It was already blowing up with texts from Derek. I can't believe you tore up $50,000. Actually, I can believe it. That was the most badass thing I've ever seen. My mother just asked me how serious we are. I told her I'm planning to marry you, if you'll still have me after tonight. Was that too much? That was probably too much. Please don't block my number. I laughed and typed back. Buy me dinner first. Somewhere that requires reservations. His response was immediate. How about tomorrow? There's a new place downtown, $300 per person minimum. Perfect. And Derek? Yeah, I'm buying. I insist. You're going to hold this over me forever, aren't you? Absolutely. Get used to dating a woman who makes more money than you. Honestly, kind of into it. I smiled and put my phone away. The Uber driver caught my eye in the rearview mirror. Rough dinner, he asked sympathetically. Actually, I said, it was perfect. Because here's what I learned that night. Money doesn't just reveal character. It reveals who stands by you when they think you have nothing. It reveals who loves you for who you are, not what you have. And Derek had passed that test. His parents had failed spectacularly, but Derek had passed. As for Robert and Victoria Whitmore, I heard through Derek that they spent the next week investigating my career, confirming every single thing I'd told them. Apparently, Victoria called Derek 3 days later to say that she'd been hasty and wanted to start fresh. I sent her a fruit basket with a card that read, "Thank you for an unforgettable evening. Maya Lee, CEO of my own damn life." Derek and I did start over. For real this time, with all cards on the table. And yes, I let him pay sometimes, and yes, he let me pay sometimes, and we figured out what an actual equal partnership looked like. But I never forgot that envelope. That perfect, insulting envelope that told me everything I needed to know about who people really are when they think you're powerless. My name is Maya Lee. I make $85,000 a month. And I'm nobody's charity case. Not now. Not ever.